Hello everyone. Today I'd like to talk about something actually that I've been wanting to do for many years and which I've had to do with individuals on numerous occasions. Now you're probably thinking, oh, this is going to be something important perhaps, or maybe you're thinking, oh, this is going to be something, just some liberalist agenda or some conservatist bullshit or something that we consider important but all of us in the deepest depth of our hearts think it doesn't really affect me. Or even if it does, it's not like I'm going to be able to change it. Well, no. I'm sorry to tell you that, in fact, now you still can't affect it, but it's not one of those big, boring topics. This is about Green Lantern. Now, some of you may know Green Lantern as that thing that came on in the cinemas a few years back, and which had about as much success as the first Hulk film. Anyway, others of you will be confusing it with Green Arrow and Green Hornet, which means that you're dead to me, so please stop watching this video right now. Why are you still here? I'm completely serious. If you don't know the difference between Green Arrow and Green Lantern, then get out. Click, go on, leave. Go! Are they gone? Okay, if they're gone. Anyone still remaining probably wants to hear what I'm about to say. Now, if I've made the title correct, sorry to get myself comfy here, if I've made the title correctly, this is going to be called Guardian Apologetics. Now, for anyone who doesn't know what Green Lantern is and is still interested, Green Lantern is a comic by DC Comics about several men who have green magic rings. And these rings allow them to project their imaginations into light constructs, like hard light constructs, and they are part of an intergalactic police force run by an ancient society of immortals called the Guardians of the Universe. Well, maybe some history might be prevalent to this, make you understand what I'm going to say a little better. At the beginning of time, apparently, they evolved a race of beings called the Malthusians, who grew up on a world called Maltus. Because they had evolved first, they of course evolved a lot quicker than everyone else did, and managed to evolve immortality. And as we all know, immortality becomes boring very quickly. Fortunately, however, because they were a predominantly peaceful race, they devoted all of their time to advancing technology and philosophy and, you know, all that kind of good stuff which would benefit the rest of life throughout the universe, because it always baffled me why the Guardians, the Malthusians, decided to develop cures for diseases or, you know, develop technology which would benefit life when they're immortal and have, like, godlike powers. Yeah, I forgot to mention that they have harnessed emotional energy, which allows them to do a number of things like flight, you know, moving worlds across the cosmos with a thought, rebuilding things just like, oh, is that car broken? Oh, look, it's not, because I fixed it with my brain. See, you'd think that they wouldn't need technology, wouldn't you? Well, transpires that one of their number, a bloke called Krona, decided that he was going to answer one of the greatest questions of all time, a question that we ourselves love to ask and which theists seem to think is already answered. I'm not going to get into religion though. Anyway, he decided that he was going to answer the biggest question of them all. Where did this come from? Well, this is my house. It came from, oh, I don't know, the previous owner who probably had it built, I don't know. But he decided that he was going to build a time viewer thing. Basically a machine to look back in time as if it were in a television screen. And he did it. Problem was that the Malthusians had a prophecy of sorts, like some kind of, you know, myth kind of thing that said anyone who looks back into the beginning of time will doom us all. Ooh, kind of stuff. So of course he did it anyway. And because they were, a predominantly peaceful species, they couldn't force him not to do it. So he invented it, he made it, he looked back in time, and he saw the beginning of the universe. And the beginning of the universe, apparently, as we know from the Big Bang model, was a particle. All matter and energy and everything together, all comprised into one little particle, smaller than anything we can see. But when he looked, a giant hand was enclosing itself around this particle. And he was like, ooh, cool. But where did this hand come from? Isn't that just the God question all over again? God created the universe, where did the God come from? Where did this hand come from? So of course he wants to go back further. Problem with this was that prophecy kicked in, as we all could probably have guessed. So of course he looks back further, and great bolt of energy, hurls forth from the past and destroys the computer. And the worst part of it all is that apparently this released a sea of entropy from before the universe began, before time began, and erased 1 billion years of history from the beginning of the universe that, essentially wiped out hundreds and thousands of generations of living beings. Shame, really. So, of course, the Malthusians felt kind of guilty about this, that they hadn't stopped it. Very nice of them, I thought. I thought, well, it's not their fault, Maybe they should have stopped Krona, but you could, everything's easy in retrospect. So what they decided to do was that they would dedicate a portion of their immortal lives, a portion of their race and their immortal lives to promoting goodness and peace and all that sort of good stuff that we generally like to think of as good. Justice, morality, blah blah frickin' blah. So they decided that they would go out and create a police force, which they did, they created a race of things called manhunters, which are robots. See, the Guardians had decided that the primary source of all evil that had erupted into the universe came from things like greed and rage and fear and things like that. And even the good emotions like hope and compassion and love, especially love, also caused kinds of, chaos and, oh, you love my husband, you die. And that was bad. So they created an emotionless race of robots that would protect the universe. And these manhunters spread out across the universe and protected various planets that were inhabited, etc., etc. Well, Krona wasn't done. He apparently, we found in more recent issues of the Green Lantern comic, was not fully punished for what he did. He was invited to become a Guardian, possibly to, make amends for what he did, maybe. But he disagreed with the Guardians about emotion. So he believed that emotion was the thing that drove life, that created life. Emotion is life, and that's why we need it. And the Guardians opposing that, trying to impose order upon emotion, was wrong. And the Guardians branded him a heretic for not wanting to, actually make amends for his wrong deeds. So they sent the Manhunters after him. They captured him, and unfortunately, however, before they did, he managed to grab a Manhunter robot and reprogrammed the whole lot of them, and this caused an event known as the Massacre of Sector 666, where the entire legion of Manhunters descended upon Space Sector 666 and just obliterated billions and billions of lives for being alive, essentially, for having emotion. Well, of course, the Guardians captured him and interrogated him, and, well, the rest is history. He was punished. He was apparently scattered into energy and just shot off across the universe so that he would never reform and perform his psychotic experiments ever again. Which, of course, allowed for many future storylines about Krona. Isn't that lovely? Well, the Guardians went on to make a second police force, which wasn't that effective. It didn't last more than a few years. But then they created another one called